So,
Yes.
You've managed to juggle a family, stellar career. What are your best tips for us?
Okay.
How do we do it?
Right. Well, I see you've brought a member of your family with you today. This is what I did always. My kids were around with me at work all the time because I think, tell me what you think, speaking to your son now, I think when you see your mom at work or your dad at work, you have a better understanding of where they are all day, and also when you can, and so they're a little bit more at ease, I think, rather than you go to this mysterious place that they never go to. I think so. I think you're already doing the right thing by bringing him to work with you, and do it often. And by the way, sometimes it's great to skip out of work sometimes because you would rather be there, and I would do that also.
In what way?
I didn't direct a movie till I was 48. Okay, that's very old to be a first-time director. But you know what? I'm 65 now, and from 48 to 65, I haven't stopped. But I wasn't ready to do it until my kids got to be about this age. Well, a little younger, about 10 or 11.
Okay.
For me, that didn't work. You know, you have to do what works for you. Forget all the peer pressure.
Okay, so then we got a question from Sally, which says she's been a stay-at-home mum for 11 years. She had a big career before.
Wait, what did you say about 11 years?
She's been a stay-at-home mum for 11 years.
Okay.
Kids going back to school now. She used to have a high-flying career. She doesn't want to go back into the sales career she had, but she wants to engage her brain. Any advice that you have for her? So,
well, I would think if I were in that position, I would do some kind of online work because we're there anyway. We're all on our computers all the time. I just think that's a great way to start a business. I have really good friends who have done it, have wonderful startups. I think it's hard. I think it's challenging, but I think it's something you can do from home initially anyway. I can't believe I'm giving advice to people I don't know.
It's great.
But it's never kept me from. Look at my movies; they're full of advice. If you
well, that's what we love about your movies. Really, really well. We've got someone here. I love The Holiday, says Ella. It's one of my favourite films. I watch it over and over again. I have to be the leading lady in your own life. Mm-hmm. I have a quote pinned onto my fridge. Aww. I'm a people pleaser and always struggle with this. How can I become the leading lady in my own life?
Well, she already is. She maybe just doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
You know, by being a people pleaser, I think what she's saying is she thinks of others before herself.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful, but don't forget Ella. You know, because leading ladies take control a little bit, I have found. They're not sufferers, you know.
Yeah. You always have a wise, older mentor role in your films.
Yeah, I do.
I yearn for a mentor, she says. How do I find one?
I've never had one person who's assigned to me who's absolutely a solid guy that I can rely on and gives me good advice. But when I think about my career and I look at all the movies I've made, I've had great art directors and production designers and cinematographers and great actors that I've learned about acting from. I really think you don't have to have this one special person. I think there's a lot of people in our lives that when you get older, you look back and you think how much you've learned from so many different people. So I think they're there, they're just not in this role, you know?
I think there's a piece around that about being vulnerable and being able to learn
Mm-hmm.
from people. So
Yes.
how do you open yourself up to them? Because sometimes we're so worried about. I remember when I started on an editor of the job, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So but now I can ask. I just say, I don't know what
Right.
I'm doing. What do you think?
Right.
How do we allow our vulnerability?
Well, I always tell anybody that works for me and that's new working for me, I always say, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, just ask me. That's the best conversation to have with me. Because the opposite of kind of blindly not knowing what I'm talking about and going off is painful for her and then painful for me when I see the result of it. So I think asking questions is great. What's wrong with it? It's how you learn.
Yeah, good. I've got a question from Ange. Despite being a high achiever and reaching a senior position in my profession at a young age, I now lack motivation and discipline in my career. This is a new experience for me and I'm clueless as what to do. Have you ever encountered this problem and how would you deal with it? So you get to kind of high flyer and then...
Yeah, no, I hear that. That's an interesting dilemma. I mean, you know, I'm not a shrink. I don't know. And God forbid somebody actually listens to me on your show. It could be an enormous problem. But it sounds like a timeout is needed. Seems like a little break is needed if they can afford to take a break, because I'm sure the answer will come if they get away from the stress or whatever it is that's creating discomfort.
to sort of engage perhaps with what they really want versus they're on this track.
Yeah.
I'm in a job I love, working with a great team, but it pays pants.
What's that mean? Pays nothing?
Pays pants terribly.
Pays terribly.
I have been asked again and again for a pay rise, but they say budgets won't allow. How do I manage this? I don't want to leave because I love the work, but I want to buy a house with my boyfriend and I just can't afford to stay, says Agnes.
I've heard this one before.
How do we ask for pay rise? How do we feel more valued, or how do we negotiate that?
It's a really hard one to talk about because somebody in my family is going through this.
Oh.
And they're afraid of losing their job. You know, if you ask in too strong a way, but on the other hand, you feel taken advantage of.
Yeah.
You know, if you stay. That's really tough. I really feel like I'm probably shouldn't be giving advice, but I mean, maybe you tried to point out to those that aren't at the head, but somebody between you and the head person, your dilemma, and get someone to help. I think it's when you're alone doing this, it's really hard. But I think if somebody can speak for you or with you or go in with somebody. I remember movies that I've made where I wanted, you wouldn't believe who, I wouldn't even want to say, to be the lead, and you'd say, of course they'd want that person. And the head of the studio did not want this person. And I didn't know how to get this actress that I wanted, who everybody loves, but this person didn't see it. And I went to a friend who had a little more power than me in the business. I said, will you come to lunch with me and the studio head and help me defend this choice?
Yes.
And he helped me. He really helped me.
So seek support.
Yeah,
you don't have to do it on your own.
I think so.
Brilliant.
It worked for me in that case.
Okay. In The Intern, Anne Hathaway plays the role of the big boss who often ignores or dismisses her employees. I have a boss like this. I work flat out, but my boss just ignores all my best efforts. I feel unappreciated and undervalued. What do I do about it, says Kylie.
Well, in defense of my character that Anne Hathaway plays, she doesn't really ignore anybody. She doesn't know somebody's name because she's the CEO and that person is an intern, one of 220 people, and you see her all over the movie actually being quite nice.
I love it that you're
well, because it's not a true. I think too often people jump and assume a female boss isn't a good person, and Annie and I work very hard not to make that true in this movie. But yes, there's a scene where she doesn't know somebody's name, even though she's taking him out for a drink, by the way.
Yeah.
But the question is, how are you to be seen or heard?
Yeah. How do I get? Yeah.
That's tough.
Have you ever had that in your career where how do you get valued? Hello, I'm over here.
You know, I have actually. I have had that experience, and you know what? I put blinders on and I just try to do the best job I can, and eventually you get seen.
Yeah.
You know, because I think if you focus on the work and do great at your work, and if you're in that kind of a work environment, and then if someone's not valuing you, I don't know what to say about that. But I think if you spend too much time sort of going in circles about nobody notices me, you know, it's kind of a big waste of energy.
Yeah.
Put all that into just how am I doing, by the way?
Great. This
I've never been asked questions
These
like
are
that.
great questions.
I'm just a mother, so I know.
Just last question. This is from our Psychologies team, and this is the one we always. How do you handle the fear of the unknown? You're about to go into a new project, and you think. Yeah.
You know how people always say, you know, step out of your comfort zone and all that? Yeah, I don't agree with that.
I love this.
I like the comfort zone.
Great.
I like the comfort zone because I think you function well within the comfort zone. Having said that, this movie, for example, was quite different for me in many ways. It wasn't a love story, which I do pretty well. It wasn't set on a soundstage. You know, I didn't shoot the whole movie, you know, at a big movie studio. I shot it in real houses in Brooklyn. The budget was nothing that I'm used to. It was much less. It was super challenging. So I was a little bit out of my comfort zone. And at first, it was really hard for me. And I was sort of like, why isn't this what I'm used to? And then I just sort of opened up myself to it because that's the only way I was going to do it well.
Brilliant. That's lovely. Nancy, thank you. You were wise and wonderful. Thank you.